Guinea pig!
Hi, I'm Alyne and welcome to my kitchen. And today I'm going to be doing a pie crust. And not only that, I'll also be doing a blind bake pie crust. And I'll explain that when I get to the blind bake part of it.
She was almost blind when we got started. That flashlight on this thing didn't want to go off.
Yeah, it's like the light kept popping me in the eyes and I was blinded by the light, y'all. But I want to thank Sherry Griffith-Inman for suggesting I make a coconut cream pie. And to have a pie, you have to have a pie crust. And that's what I'm going to be working on, is making a homemade pie crust. And so I have my ingredients here on the island, and I'll tell you what they are. And I will tell you, this is a recipe I got from a recipe book that I have been using. Oh my gosh, I want to say I've used it for well over 15 to 20 years. It just depends on when I got the book. And for anybody that doesn't know, and I'll show you, it's an old cookbook. This is the cookbook I got the recipe out of. It is called Dean Brothers, Y'all Come Eat. And it is Paula Dean's sons. And like I said, I've had the recipe book for many years now. And I use their pie crust recipe. And so I don't want to take credit for something that's not mine. This is something that I use. And I'm just going to show you how I make it. Okay. Getting back to the ingredients. In this bowl, I have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. That means plain flour. And I also have 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Okay, I've had it in the refrigerator chilling because I like to have my ingredients cold when I'm doing this. The recipe doesn't say you have to have it chilled. It just says, you know, the flour. But since everything else needs to be chilled, I want the flour chilled as well. Okay. Here I have 14 tablespoons of butter. And this is unsalted butter, and that's what it's supposed to be, 14 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And if you're wondering what 14 tablespoons is, it is 1 stick of butter plus another 6 tablespoons, which would be right at 3/4 of a stick of butter. Okay, so it's easier to just do it by the 14 tablespoons. And you can see I've got it cut into small chunks. Okay. Now what this says to do is to sift this flour and salt together, pulsing in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've already sifted it, the flour and the salt together with a sifter when I put it in my bowl. Measured it out. Well, I'll figure out how this goes in a minute. So I'm just going to pulse this for just 1 second. Maybe 2. How about I just cut it on for a second? That worked. Okay. Like I said, I'll put my butter in here. And it is cut into smaller pieces. And the reason for that is you want to incorporate all that into this flour. I think I'm going to take that lid off and I'll make it a whole lot easier. While I'm doing that, I'll tell you, I've got 1/4 of a cup of lard here. It calls for 1/4 of a cup of shortening. I don't use shortening, I have lard. And it calls for anywhere from 2 to 4 tablespoons of ice cold water. And as you can see, I'm putting my butter in. And I'll put my butter in my shortening in. I need to drop the piece, y'all. I'm good at that. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. And it does call for it to be made up in a food processor. Now, if you don't have a food processor, you can use a pastry cutter and cut the shortening and butter into the dough. If you'll hand me that towel, please, Pig. Thank you much. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut that on and kind of let it work together a little bit. Yeah. That didn't work too good, did it? It's still not working too good. What's going on with that? It's almost like my blade jumped. It did. It's not all the way seated. Pause, please. Okay, I got the problem fixed. What it was is my blade had jumped up and I must not have had it on completely like I needed to. So we'll try this again. I'll cut that pole off. And what you want is you want your flour and stuff to look kind of like coarse meal, and that's where I'm at right now. And if you're wondering about the butter and the lard, it helps the pie crust to be flaky. Okay, now I'm gonna cut this on and I'm gonna add this water, tablespoon at a time. And don't be shocked if the food processor kind of starts to rocking because it's gonna form a dough, a ball. Okay, it looks like it's there. It took about 5.5 tablespoons. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of plastic wrap right here. And what I didn't tell you is this right here is enough to do 2 9-inch pie shells, pie crust. Take that off. And I'm going to pour this. If I can get this off of here, I'm going to
pop that centerpiece out.
Yeah, that's...
If you can.
That's why I'm taking that out.
There you go.
Take that out, put it right there. And then I will take my dough.
There you go.
And get this out. There we go. I'll set that right there off to the side. And
now we got a dish to pick and wash.
We got a couple of dishes to pick and wash. And what I'm going to do is just kind of press this down. I don't want to overwork it too much because the more you work this dough, the warmer it gets and the more the butter and stuff kind of melt into it and it won't make it as flaky. Like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in this plastic wrap and I will put it in the refrigerator. And it needs to be refrigerated for at least 15 minutes. And you can keep it in the refrigerator up to 2 days. If you're not going to use it within 2 days, wrap it in the plastic wrap, wrap it in freezer wrap or aluminum foil and then freezer wrap. However, put it in a plastic bag, mark it as pie dough, put the date that you put it in the freezer, and you can freeze it for up to 2 months. And I know this because I have done that. I wouldn't freeze it for over 2 months, but like I said, I've got this wrapped. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, and I'll leave it in there for at least 15 minutes. And it may be tomorrow before I get back to this to actually make the pie and do the blind bake on the pie crust. But I did want to let you know that it does need to stay in the refrigerator, stay refrigerated for a short time. So when you see me again, I will have my dough roller and everything out ready to roll out my pie crust, and we'll do a blind bake on it, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, the pie crust has chilled in the refrigerator. I actually left it in there overnight. And one thing I remember, I got to put my apron on to keep from getting flour all over me. So I'll do that while I tell you what I'm going to do.
Mama get you for not putting that on.
Auntie Mama will get me, that's for sure. But I'm going to cut this dough in half because there's enough here to do 2 9-inch pie shells. And I'm getting ready to do a pre-bake. And I said I'd tell you what pre-bake means. Or I should say blind bake, not pre-bake, but blind bake. And what that is you roll out your dough, put it in your pie pan, cover it with aluminum foil, and put pie weights in there. Now you can use ceramic pie weights, metal pie weights, or like me, you can use some pinto beans. And the thing about it is, if you use the pinto beans, keep them separate and have them listed as pie weights, because if you don't, they don't cook good afterward. I found that out by accident. So I'm going to get started here first off by cutting this in half. And I'll use my dough scraper here to cut this. You see that's good and chilled. I'm going to set that right there. And if you don't want to make but the one pie and you have extra pie dough, these make awesome little hot pockets, which is what I might make out of these. Find something, put in them, and make some hot pockets.
The way you use some of them pepperonis.
Yeah, I can use pepperoni and cheese, and I'll tell them what else. Now that's my oven. I have it preheated to 375 degrees. And I'm going to put me a little bit of flour, not a lot now, because you don't need a lot of flour, just enough to keep it from sticking. And spread that around. And y'all will actually get to see me use my dough roller today. But for that, I'm going to press this down just a little bit. Kind of get it started in that round pie shape. I don't want to work with the dough too much, because the more you work it, it's got the butter and stuff in it that actually starts melting. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll it back and forth and to the sides, and I'll roll it out pretty thin. I don't like a real thick pie crust, and you roll it to whatever thickness you like. But you want it to be at least 9 inches or better, because that's a 9-inch pie pan. You want it to fit in the pie pan. So I try to roll it out to a good 12, 14 inches. Because anything you roll over that, you can always trim off. Okay. When you see what I'm doing here, I'm just rolling this back and forth, back and forth.
It's a 9-inch pan, but you're going 12 to 14. That's allowed for the sides going up.
Allow for the sides going up, across the bottom, and any little decoration you want to do at the top, whether it be using a fork or fluting it or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this rolled out to where I want it, then I'll be back, and we'll go from there with it.
Sorry about that, folks. Got a pig finger in there.
Okay, got it rolled out like I want it. You'll see I'm fixing to roll it up on my dough roller. Get that on there. And I'm going to set my pie plate over here. And you just kind of line it up. And roll that back across there. And you want to make sure it fits pretty well in there. And I have a piece right there. I can just push that right there. And I'm going to tell you, this right here, what I'm going to do, y'all might think I'm crazy, but this is actually the easiest way to do this. You don't need a knife. Get that right there. You can take your scissors and go around the outside edge of your pie dish, pie pan, and trim off any excess. And that way you will see if you need to patch any. And it's okay to patch if you didn't quite get it where it needed to go.
Once it's baked and filled up with creamy stuff, you ain't gonna see it. It ain't gonna matter. The only thing you'll see is yum, yum.
That's it. And I tell you what, a little patch here and there also shows that you made it by scratch. It ain't perfect, it's homemade.
That's like looking at a whole handmade quilt. You can tell by the stitching if it was actually handmade or not.
Right. Not every stitch on a handmade quilt is going to be even. Most will, but not all. Okay.
If they had a quilting machine, it'll be even stitches.
Okay. Now, when I say fluting, you just take your fingers and just kind of go through and flute the edge around it. And, I'm not the best at this. Normally, when I bake a pie shell, I just pretty much fold it under and let it go.
Pig wouldn't be able to do that. His fingers are too short and stubby and big.
And as you can see, not all of it's going to turn out just right. I would do my right hand, but I got a sore on it and got a Band-Aid. It won't work right if I'm doing it using a Band-Aid. So
Mine would make it look like a meteor hit the ground. Boom.
Well, like I said, it don't got to be perfect. At least you try. That's all that matters.
Looks good to me.
And again, I told you earlier in the video, this is going to be for a coconut cream pie. It's actually a toasted coconut cream pie that Miss Sherry Griffith-Inman asked me to make.
Thank you, Sherry.
And this was, she asked me way back before Christmas because I had asked on our group page what recipes people would like to see made, and this was one of them that was called out. And I never got to it before Christmas. So I promised her I would get it done. And y'all, I'm just now getting around to this. Okay, that's my fluted edges. And now what I'm going to do, like I said, this is going to be a blind bake. So, got this in here. I'll put that kind of over the edges there like that. And the aluminum foil does several things. It keeps the weights from actually... Oh, forgot to do something, y'all. I got ahead of myself. I got a fork. I got to pop some holes in the bottom.
What's that gonna do?
It's called docking, and it keeps it from getting air bubbles in it. And filling up the...
Help keep it flat.
Yeah, keep it flat. And you do the same thing to pizza crust. A lot of people don't know that. I actually want a pie docker. I used to have one years ago that was my granny's. But in all the different moves I've made over the years.
Get to where we can, we'll have to get you one.
Yeah. After all them moves I've made over the years, I lost my granny's. I wish I still had that thing. But, and I guess y'all can see where I've got the holes in there. I don't know. Can you see that, Pig? And that's
I them dead on it. They'll see them.
That's called docking, and that's just going to keep that crust from puffing up and making air pockets. Okay.
But they'll fill in as it bakes, right?
Right, it'll bake in. It won't, nothing will come through it because it bakes solid, but yeah, it docks it to keep that air pockets. Okay. Now this is a 1 pound bag of pinto beans. And yes, I'll probably use them all.
I'll just keep them in that container for when you want to do it again.
That's what I do. I'm going to mark this as pie weights, and anytime I want to bake a pie, I'll just put my pie weights in there.
Pretty neat.
Yep. And they're actually cheaper. Well, yeah, they are cheaper than most actual pie weights. You know, they're reusable. You can use, just like a pie weight, you can use them all you want. Well, I'm going to put this in the oven, and I think it's for 30 minutes. Let me double check on that, folks. 375. Bake for 20 minutes. Excuse me. I was going to overbake. But bake it for 20 minutes at 375. So I'm going to put this in my oven. And I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes.
Pig keeps getting his finger in there.
That's okay. Got that set for 20 minutes. We'll be back when that comes out, and I'll show you what the blind bake pie shell looks like when it comes out of the oven. Okay, we're back. The pie crust is done. Now I'm going to tell you the truth on this. I checked this at the 20-minute mark, and in my oven it was not done. So I put it in for another 10 to 12 minutes. I think it cooked another 12 minutes, so a total of 32 minutes in my oven.
You figure people wrote that book are professionals with all sorts of professional equipment, so,
So I would say this, if you bake this, do it for the 20 minutes. You can take it out, check it to see if it's done. If it's not, you can always put it back in for a little bit longer. So it's always better to start off with the lower time and add to it than to start off with the higher time and burn it. So I'm going to go ahead and set this off.
Oh, look at that.
And that is a blind baked pie crust. And As you can see, it kind of dipped on me. But you know what? That's fine. That shows it's homemade right there.
That's yeah.
And I'm going to let that sit. And
I don't think keeping the pig from chomping on just that right there, she'd whoop me.
Yeah, well, I got a little bite right there. It fell off, pig. You can have that.
Oh, check it out.
Kind of good flavor.
That is good and crumbly.
So I'm going to let this cool really well. And while this is cooling, I'm going to work on my pie filling to go in it, which will be in the next video you see. So,
sorry for y'all the jerking around there, folks.
So we're going to end this video here by saying thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye, y'all. Bye, y'all.
Where am I going?